there, I'm Artistic Gamer 7, and I'm here with a build video. I haven't had a few of these posted too recently, other than the big giant collab that I did with 12 other amazing simmers. So this one's gonna be one just on my own, just doing whatever, and it literally is completely random. The only reason why I even started making this build, which I think I'm gonna start trying to record the majority of my builds. I don't know if all of them will necessarily make it onto my channel, but I will at least try to record some of them if I, gonna take actual detailed time for it. Like I think I've stated in a few of my other videos, a lot of times my personal experience with building is when I already have a family and I know how many members of the family are, if there's a chance that they might expand and all that stuff, so I sort of accommodate all that stuff and think about that stuff and think about the style of the family in general. It makes me, for me personally, it makes my builds easier if I do it that way, so a lot of times it's a challenge for me if I don't know the sims that are actually being put in there, but at the same time I love a challenge, so I'm trying to get into building more often. But this one is for a family that I made who I'm wanting to introduce in the series. Particularly, I wanted to introduce them because I'm gonna let them be introduced through the Eevee family series for a future generation. So basically, the kids, the new generation, there's a particular member in this household that I'm particularly wanting to add to the story that fits with that younger generation, so they needed a house. And since there's a chance that we're going to be visiting this house and not just knowing these people, I wanted the house to actually look nice and look cool, and I decided to build it. So basically, I've been calling it a random build, literally. I've mentioned before that half of the time I don't know if I'm building in modern, contemporary, traditional, whatever you name it. I've been trying to look at pictures and get an idea, but I literally had no inspiration for this. I just started randomly building and just doing whatever. So, as you probably already seen, I did use, one of the cheats to show, hidden objects and show objects in debug and things like that to use, and I used the pond and put it in the back because we can't actually make actual ponds, so that is one of the only ways. That and making a pool, but I actually sort of wanted to have this one functional as a pond, so I just used that. I originally wanted it to be in the front as maybe the front feature, but where I designed this house to go at an angle in the front, technically be on a corner, it was really hard to do that and also still have quite a bit of backyard space. They do actually have a kid. There's a chance they might have another kid in their future, so a backyard to them was important. So if they built or bought a house, they definitely would want a backyard. So I didn't want to take away from the backyard by pushing this house almost all the way in the back just so I can incorporate the pond in the front. But I did do the little design with the rocks and the plants, where the rocks was almost the planter, but not necessarily. Almost like the bush was growing there and they just put the rocks up against it. Something like that. I did try to, originally when I started doing this house, I sort of was staying with whites and tans, and I had the idea to bring in blues and oranges as the hints. Through most of the build, I think I kept with that for the most part, but not totally. Other colors do show up in there, yellows and things like that. Do actually show up, but my original plan was the creamy tans, not the really dark tans, but the creamy tans, white, and hint of blues and oranges. So, which I don't actually use orange much in my builds or my creative sims, and I've been trying, and yellow for that matter. I've been trying to get myself out of my typical habits or things that I usually do, try to challenge myself and get myself out of my little box. So that was a nice change. Doing more builds also has been getting me out of my box. Usually I just go and download them off the gallery, or then modify them, or I take one that's already in the Sims game and modify it to my needs. I don't usually start fresh. I did a lot in The Sims 3, but I don't even remember how those builds turned out now. And here I am with the roof. Well, I admit, because the video ended up being so long, and I'm actually having to split this build, even after removing a lot of the footage, I'm having to split it up in 3 parts. Probably should have mentioned that at the beginning. So definitely subscribe if you're not already, if you want to see the rest of these, the next 2 parts, and also see future builds and Create Sims and all that other stuff that I have going on. But this is going to be 3 parts, so, but the video was so absolutely long. It actually took me like 4, 5, maybe even 6 separate days. Technically I help out in the greenhouses till about 6, 7 o'clock, depending on how busy and how the weather is and stuff like that. And then I would come down, and I would spend, each recording was, the shortest one I think was an hour and 45 minutes of me sitting down and building this was the shortest one. And then I had some that were a little bit longer. I had one that was really long because I was the last 2 videos the last 2 recordings of it, I was like, I need to get this done. So I sat down and I literally tried to finish it, because the first, like, I think I had 6 parts. So probably, yeah, that probably means I did 6 days, because I don't think I did stop and go on one day. So I know like the first like 3 or 4 parts I was watching like some people's YouTube channels, like videos in the background, or watching Netflix and things like that. But towards the last 2, I was like, I have got to get this done. This is taking me way too long, and I have other builds. I still need to get to the Eco Earth house that people voted over on Twitter. So I still got to get to that one. That is my next one. If it wasn't for that I needed this family for the story of my possibly next Eevee episode, I would not have done their house already. I would have went straight to the other one, but I needed their house ready to go, because they're part of my plans, hopefully for the next episode, or maybe 2 episodes from now. But either way, I needed them ready. But as you can tell, I'm getting sort of the basis of the outside of the house. This first video is going to be mostly the outside of the house. And like I was stating before, I did have to cut a lot of it out, so sometimes you may see jumps here or there, stuff that I was taking a long time on, or stuff that was very repetitive. And there will be a thing in the backyard that I will mention that was very, very repetitive, so I took those out. I did take some of the roof editing out, because I did one thing with the roof, then I was like, well, let me try this, and then I was like, no, I like the previous thing, so I went back to the original. So I decided just to cut out the part where I changed my mind. Here I am now decorating the backyard. I originally was going to try to make a little tiny tree house for the daughter of this family, but you had to make the tree extremely big, and I didn't want the tree for this particular lot to be that big. I would have had to made it a little bit bigger so that the walls would have done right and looked like the ground actually, like the place was actually sitting on the tree itself. So I decided against that. Maybe in the future I can try to in a tree house or something at a different lot, but I didn't think it fit this lot and this town that they're in. They're in Newcrest, and Newcrest I definitely know is, my Newcrest anyway, is a very family oriented area for the most part. There are a few Sims here and there that are not like super family oriented, but it's like your nice little quiet town where everyone has either pets or kids or a little bit of both, and everyone's sort of friendly and nice and gets along. Newcrest is the nice, quiet neighborhood of my sim world and my main save. So I just didn't think it really fit the overall look and aesthetic of Newcrest, so I did not want to make the tree any bigger. I definitely played around with some landscaping stuff a little bit more this time, which I think landscaping is one of my better things in general when I do builds anyway, but I was sort of playing around with it more since I had this pond. It was a little bit different, you know, adding plants and stuff around to it, because I knew that you could get like the debug items and show hidden items and all that stuff, but I never really actually put the pond in any of my builds. I've downloaded builds that had the pond in them, and I ended up not using them too awful much, but I've never actually used them in one of my builds, so that was definitely fun. And I will multiple times, like, now, like, be doing something, be like, oh wait, this would look good over here. So in some cases I cut them out. In one of the videos I cut one thing out because I was working on an inside room, and then I was like, oh wait, this thing would look great outside. So I moved it outside. I think I eventually show it outside. But I'm someone who gets so sidetracked and so distracted when I'm doing basically anything. not just building, just basically anything. I can get very, very distracted. So sometimes that doesn't help in my build. Here I'm putting a bunch of rocks over here because I've seen where people have used rocks in different things, and then they make what looks like a fountain, natural fountain sort of coming out of it. So that was sort of what I did here. I changed the fountains to blue because I wanted the water to look sort of blue, more of that crystal clean sort of look to it, especially since it's going into a pond, and since they have a toddler, and basically the family who is going into this house, one is a scientist and the other is a writer, but they both come from pretty rich families, pretty affluent families in general, and they've decided to move into like a whole different area, like away from their families, just to sort of start their own family. I'm sort of pretending that one of them sort of had a family dispute and they just want to get away from that, so they are now here in the lovely town of New Crest in my lovely Sims world. So, that is sort of the story with them. So they're just sort of, they like things to look nice. I would imagine if they had a pond in their backyard, basically what I'm trying to get to is that they would sort of try to keep it more hygienic and clean, especially since they have a child. So it may still have, like, fishes and things like that in it, but they still try to keep it as clean as possible, along with not killing the fishes. So, here at the front door, when I first did this door and I did the little thing over top of it with the two, I can't remember what they are called right now. I wanted a light to look like it was hanging off of those. So I played around with a few lights that, to see which ones I liked better. The thing about with certain objects, like the lights, I think, yeah, the lights, if you, like, downsize them or make them bigger, the actual light object does not change. So I couldn't take something and make it smaller, but I did decide to go on those lanterns. So it looked like they were attached to those little post things and was coming out of them. So that was nice. This is one of the things that I actually, which I turned it at nighttime so I could see how they brightened up. But this was one of the few things that when there was lights, when you made them bigger, it didn't affect it too much. At least it didn't look like it affected. So I was able to make these bigger, and I put them all around the bottom side of this little balcony thing, and I did cut out a lot of the footage of me doing that because it literally, like, getting them to look like they were stringed close together or about even took a while. So as you can see, I'm now back at the build and I'm putting furniture and stuff in, and those lights are all around the bottom of the balcony. Boom, like that magic. So but yeah, that was one of the things that I definitely was like, yeah, I probably should cut it out. And now I'm going to go and decorate. I mean, like I was saying, I'm going to be decorating the outside now. I sort of start with this under area. I don't think I don't finish it all at once. Literally, like I said, I'm someone who really gets easily distracted and easily sidetracked, where I'm like, oh, there's this and this. And I think I eventually do, once I get, like, the bare minimum underneath this balcony setup, I think I go and do what was my big project for the outside. After I decided the pond was in the back, I decided I wanted to try to have, like, a little rock pathway. I moved the furniture out here so I can try to compare the colors together, because underneath I couldn't see them too well. So if you're wondering why I moved the grill back out, well, outside and the tables outside. It's because I was trying to see all the colors together, make sure they looked normal together. Sometimes mismatched things look good together, but sometimes they don't. So, I definitely would try to do that. I am putting a couch here, but I don't know if it's in this part or if it's going to be in one of the other parts, or if I even include it in the videos in general. But I do actually, change that couch and remove it and turn it into a bar instead of a couch. So that doesn't stay there because I decided to put a swing thing over on the other side of this little porch sitting outside area thing. So I get rid of it and put the bar down there because again, they're very wealthy, very rich family, and they have, even though they've just moved, they're very good at making friends. They're very, invite your neighbors over, invite your friends and coworkers over, have a nice gathering. Those types of people that are just very, very social, so I definitely wanted them to try to have as much stuff to do around their house for when they do have guests over. The upstairs balcony I don't decorate too well on this video, but that is like the very last video, and I will talk about that in that video, so let me not get sidetracked on that. Right now, it's this part of the video. This first part. Lovely part. So as you can see right now, I am still decorated, which I really thought I went to the rock pathway. I had been wanting to do something like this for a really long time. I was like, but there's no objects, even like my CC objects. I don't have many, things that I think I can do with, and I totally forgot about like the hidden objects and the debug objects. So I was like, wait. And after I remembered that, I was like, yes. But something that I should have stated in the beginning, as you can tell, oh, I'm about to start working on this rock pathway. There's a little fireplace out here that you can come sit at night and it'd be nice and cozy, which I also included like a little campsite, which makes sort of no sense with the fireplace also out here, but that's fine, whatever. These are very social people. Maybe they have a big party over and there's not enough seating at the fireplace, you can go at the campsite. But, yeah, I'm about to start on that, which I do cut a lot of the rock, the pathway out because it literally that alone, I worked on 2 different days and probably together took me an hour to 2 hours to do. That sounds like a lot, but it literally took me forever. And that table, I tried to downsize it because I thought it worked really well because I didn't like how big it was, but when you put stuff on it, it looks like they're floating. So that's the reason why I changed it out. But recently I went back and finally got to watch a bunch of the people's videos from the Windenburg apartment collab that I did, and I seen a few tricks that I can do that I can still downsize like tables and stuff and still get objects on top of them. So thank you, lovely people and builders of the sim world that was in my, with me with the apartment collab. Gave me many ideas to actually try out on my own builds that I never thought of doing myself. So, thank you! I think I was saying something before I went off in this whole entire rant. Yes! Oh, here's my rock pathway. As you can see, I have set out all these different types of, like, the unfossilized fossils and the rocks and the minerals and things like that. That's what I used to make this path. And like I said, it literally took me forever, so I do not show the whole thing. I would not do that to you all because it would have been torture. It was almost torture to do this. I love how it turned out, but at the same time, I was about to scream by the time I got, honestly, by the time I got like down this side of the path. I haven't even came back up it and around the circle part. I was already ready to scream, but whatever. But, like I was trying to say, obviously this build does have, oh, there's the finished, that is how it finished, and I started putting plants around it and stuff like that. It as you can see, it took me ages. But I love how it turned out, I love the result, so it was worth it. It took forever, but it was worth it. But my build does obviously have CC, so I know since I'm going to be putting it up on the gallery, that could be a little annoying for some people. which I am going to start doing a lot of builds where I try not to include CC, at least not at first, and I might do a version with CC of the same build, but since this was for an actual family in one of my actual series that is going to be sort of playing a role, I wanted it to be 100% ready and ready to go after I finished it with how I want it to be, and I do like using CC and my actual builds. I know a lot of people are very talented and can do a lot of things without CC, but there's, my personal opinion, there's a lot of CC that brings more of a homey feel to it because there's things that is not offered in The Sims, or there's more clutter objects and things like that. So I do use CC in this build. Not everything is CC. In fact, I probably use a lot of stuff that wasn't CC more than I had been doing in some of my previous builds. So that is a positive note. So not everything would be disappearing. Even this rock pathway should not disappear if you download it once I put it up on the gallery, because those are all objects that's in the actual Sims game. It's just they're done with, made accessible with a cheat. So a lot of the big bones of the build is not going to go away. So that's a plus. It's mainly just certain objects and certain furniture that will disappear. But again, as you can see, they do have a lot of things that you can do outside the home. They have the horseshoe thing, the fireplace, the campsite. They have stuff for their child, who you probably can tell at this point is a toddler. This is for any neighborhood kids that are their friends, or once their child ages up, they can play on that as well. I went going around with this terrain tool to make it look like there were certain spots where people were sitting or standing more often or using it. Basically, the grass had gotten a little worn out. So just doing those little finishing touches and details on it. And I think I'm about to go back to the porch area here, which I put, this is CC, but I absolutely love the idea of having a swing on your porch. We used to have one at my house on my porch, but my dad broke it. So we no longer have one, but I used to love that thing. I loved sitting on it. If you've ever stumbled onto the cringiest videos on YouTube done by me and my friends, called Galaxy Hustlers, I'm subscribed to them, and I think I have links in the description to several channels to that channel. We tried to start back on that channel, but then again fell off of it. One of my friends actually moved to Tennessee, well, back to Tennessee, so that made it a little bit harder doing those. But yeah, you will see the swing in some of those videos. We actually sit in them in some of them and swing on it. So, but warning, if you do go find those videos, they're very cringy. Sorry. But yeah, I'm just doing some finishing touches with plants and pots here in the video. And I started trying to put a rug on the outside, but you'll notice I actually end up putting it on the inside, which what is going to be the kitchen area. Because, again, I was doing the blues and the oranges, and I thought that rug looked weird on those rocks on the outside, so I was like, well, let me put it on the inside, and that could be like, that's going to be the theme of most of the house, so let me put it on the inside, so like when you're walking back in, you won't track dirt and stuff through the house, even though that's got white on the rug, so the rug's going to have to clean a lot. But it was a really cute rug, and it was really pretty, and it went with the theme that I was originally trying to do with those blues and oranges. So I did put it in there. So that is the only decoration that I think I do inside the house in this first part of the video. But yeah, this family definitely has their plants out and around and things like that, making the house look nice and presentable. And here's the bar. I do add the bar in the video. I wasn't sure if I couldn't remember. There is literally, each part is going to be around 26 minutes long. So, I forgot what all stayed and what all didn't, because originally, before I sped up the videos, and before I cut out the pieces I didn't want, the video was over like 10 hours long. So, I had to do a lot of cutting out, and once I sped it up, I still realized I had to do more cutting out. So it was a long process editing for this video, but I am really happy with the house, and I'm proud of the house. And you know, I don't use that mailbox that I just used. I rarely use that mailbox. But I decided to use it in this one. And here I go building, like, the base walls for the interior. I don't go and do any of the other stuff. I think the video's about to come to an end, but I just sort of get the base bones of the interior in this video. And the inside decorating took some of the longest, which is a big reason why I had to do a three videos for one build. But anyway, if you're liking the build so far, definitely make sure you're subscribed so you can check out the next two. I will have this build up on the gallery after the third part shows. There will also be screenshots of the building itself in the third part, so definitely stay tuned for that. I am looking forward to doing my eco earth house build. I might even think about trying to maybe get on Twitch for the first time and maybe doing part of that build on Twitch. I don't know. I'm partially nervous to get on Twitch. Like, I really want to do it, but I'm also really nervous at the same time, so not really certain about that one yet, but just to let you know. But all of my Sims 4 playlists will be down in the description below, so you can go check out those previous builds, Create a Sim series that I have going on. Also, my social medias will be down in the description below as well, so you can go check me out on there. Definitely look for my Twitter, because those are where I post updates. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!